So there's a high that comes along when you start from nothing and you start achieving this step and this step and this step, and there's a joy that comes along with that. What we don't know and what we aren't prepared for is the actual real success and what that looks like when you get there.
Xponential Intelligence, this is Masati. And with me, I've got Anthony Camargo. And, you know, in the short time that we've been together, we've really grew really close as friends. And it's really, it's really amazing how, like, maybe, I don't know if you want to call it old souls or whatever it is that's gotten together, but I think we're here as a purpose. You know, we've got a bigger, better purpose going on for us. So, Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Moss. Yes, my name is Anthony Camargo, and I will agree with Moss. You know, sometimes there's a bigger purpose for something, and sometimes you don't know in the beginning what that is, and I think we're on the journey. So as we're sitting here today, Moss and I were talking about business paths and business successes, business achievements, business failures even, and the journey that we go on. And I always say this in my business, I'm a designer, I'm a jewelry designer, and have been fortunate enough to build a nice career with that over the years, and been able to build a luxury brand out of that. I'm retired from that brand now and on a different path, although I still do jewelry. But I always say this, and this is just a very kind of a lame thing in many ways, be careful what you wish for. Because I think that one of the joys of the journey of success is the milestones of achievement that it takes to get there. And that's part of the high.
Absolutely.
So there's a high that comes along when you start from nothing and you start achieving this step and this step and this step, and there's a joy that comes along with that. What we don't know and what we aren't prepared for is the actual real success and what that looks like when you get there. So what we were talking about earlier is that journey. And my personal journey is I believed from a young child that success was to be famous. That I grew up in a very poor, to be honest with you, a poor Hispanic family. And we had nothing. We had television. Yeah. And our icons were built upon people that were on television or in a magazine. So to me, that was success. It wasn't about how educated you were, what university you went to. It was about being on television, right?
Well, it's that outward success that everybody wants, and that outward success on television looks pretty good.
Yes.
You know, it looks really good, but then, you know, they still have the same issues.
Right.
You know, a lot of addiction patterns, a lot of health patterns, a lot of relationship issues, all those things that everybody else has, so it didn't really resolve those patterns.
Right. So as you go along the journey and you start to achieve that one level, the next level, and again, not being prepared for the ultimate success, because I don't think most of us really realize that it can really happen, and it's a pleasant surprise when it does. However, what I learned was that once the challenge was gone, I was now faced with the reality of having to stay in this space, because it was no longer trying to get there. I got there, and I couldn't really go any further than that, but to hold on to it and to retain it and not let anybody take it away from me. So therefore, the joy quickly dissipated. I remember being in an airport one day and walking up to the magazine counter, and I was on the cover of 8 magazines of the top publications in the world. Now, not me personally. I think I was on the cover. It was my jewelry was on every famous woman on every cover of every magazine.
Wow.
And I remember going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not on that magazine. That's where my head was. And I called my publicist and said, why aren't we on the cover of Town & Country? Like, really, that's where my head was.
Yeah.
Like, it was never going to be good enough. So once I got there, then it was a fight to stay there.
Yep.
There's the conqueror. It's the conqueror in us that wants to achieve it. We want to win. We want to win, and then we win, and we get there, and then we win. And like you said, your friend who's reached all this success, and it made me think of a little scenario. And I remember I used to love watches. That was my thing, watches. And I had a goal of buying a Philip Patek. Patek Philippe, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
That was my goal. And the watch that I wanted was like $28,000, something like that. And I was buying watches along the way, but I still hadn't got that one watch yet, right? And then I remember the day I was able to walk into the store and to buy that watch. And you know what? It meant absolutely nothing to me. Once I had it in my hands, it meant nothing to me.
Wow.
Because now it was, oh, okay, there was no longer a fight to get there.
Yeah.
So it was a cure in many ways, because it made me look at it and go, yeah, you're putting so much attachment onto this one material thing. But again, I come from the luxury goods business, so I'm supposed to be telling you that that's what you're supposed to be feeling, right? But I remember feeling empty.
Yeah.
I felt really empty because now I had this thing in my hand, but it meant nothing to me anymore.
Yeah.
It was a really fascinating place to be. And same thing with the career itself.
Right, you get to that top level, and this is where a lot of those famous entertainers, they break down. They have, massive suicide attacks, a lot of great people actually, unfortunately, they committed suicide.
Absolutely.
Or they break down and they go into, mental institutions or whatever it might be. And the reason for that, so the XI factor, the XI reasoning behind that, Anthony, is that you're built, it's not what you're succeeding in, it's just that the pattern of you succeeding has to be run all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to a certain level, it's like, I can't go anymore, but the thing is still the deep down version of you, because that pattern dictates that you have to keep succeeding, you have to keep conquering. But you've reached the end of the wall, and it's like, shit, I still gotta go, and you can't go anymore because you've reached the end of the wall. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
And even high-level individuals, like the Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos, he's got to make another, I don't know,
billion or two,
gajillion dollars, whatever it is, it's like, that's not good enough. He's got to make the other. He's got to own all the, whatever facilities or whatever it is. That's the same process. It's never good enough. And when they get to that status, though, they feel more empty than ever, because success, like XI says, that success is a magnifier, and that's why it magnifies that thing that you're not. And it just like hits you in the face. You look in the mirror and it's like, shit, I'm still empty inside. I'm still that kid, that was empty back in the day. And now I've got all these, say, accessories that make me feel or make me look like I'm good and all that. I'm still empty on the inside.
Right.
And magnifies that even more. So, with XI, Exponential Intelligence, you can use that motivation to, again, become that gladiator to go forward, but then there's a time where you can, like, let off the gas, and put the brakes on and actually just enjoy your journey, right? Because most people don't know how to do that, because that pattern keeps dictating that it has to run. So you can let go, and that's what we're working on actually for you. And the other aspect of that too, Anthony, is that you're point A, you got to get to point B. Once you reach point B, you got to get to point C. Then point C, you got to D, E, F. So you're always going further and further away from where you are. With XI, you actually start to expand.
Right.
Right. And then if you would have bought that watch, it would have actually meant a value to it. It's like, wow, this is a reflection of who I am, not like the emptiness of who I am.
Right.
So I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy those watches, or because that's what they're there for, whatever it might be. So think about that. I know we're running out of time. We're going to do more segments on the new business paradigm. My name is Masati. This has been Anthony Camargo for the XI podcast. Peace.